The champagne glass shattered before Marcus could even finish his toast. Minji's hand had slipped. The crystal exploded against the marble floor of the restaurant, golden liquid spreading like a warning across white tile. Everyone stopped talking. 50 guests turned to stare. "Sorry," Minji whispered, her Korean accent soft. "I'm so sorry." Marcus forced a smile, but his jaw was tight. This was exactly the problem. 5 years of marriage, and she still couldn't handle a simple dinner without embarrassing him. "It's fine," he said through clenched teeth. But it wasn't fine. Nothing about tonight was fine. He'd planned this evening for weeks. Their 5th anniversary. The perfect setting. The perfect guests. Everything had to be perfect because tonight wasn't really about celebrating their marriage. Tonight was about ending it. Marcus stood up, adjusting his tailored suit. He was a striking figure, successful black businessman, confident, powerful. He'd built an empire in Seoul, against all odds. Real estate development, luxury apartments, connections that opened doors most foreigners could never touch. And beside him sat Minji. Small, quiet, plain. She worked as a translator at a small firm. Wore simple clothes. Never made waves. For 5 years, she'd been exactly what he thought he wanted, someone who wouldn't overshadow him, someone who'd stay in the background while he climbed. But that was before Simone came back. Simone sat 3 tables away, watching. Tall, gorgeous, designer, everything. His ex from college, the one who got away. She'd returned to Seoul 6 months ago for business, and suddenly Marcus remembered what he'd been missing. A woman who matched his ambition. A woman who looked good on his arm. A woman who understood power. Marcus cleared his throat. "Everyone, thank you for coming tonight." Minji looked up at him confused. They hadn't planned speeches. 5 years ago, I married Minji, Marcus continued. I thought I knew what I wanted. Minji's face went pale. Marcus, what are you? But sometimes, he talked over her, you realize you made the wrong choice. Gasps rippled through the room. Minji stood up slowly, her hands shaking. I want a divorce, Marcus said clearly. I've already filed the papers. They'll be delivered tomorrow. The restaurant went dead silent. Minji just stared at him, her dark eyes wide with shock. Why? She whispered. Marcus pulled Simone to her feet. She glided over, all confidence and curves, and slipped her arm through his. Because I'm marrying the woman I should have married 5 years ago, Marcus announced. Simone smiled at the crowd like she'd just won a prize. I hope we can all move forward positively, she said smoothly. Minji looked between them, processing. You've been, this whole time? Does it matter? Marcus said coldly. This marriage was a mistake from the start. You never fit my life, Minji. You're too quiet, too plain, too small. Something flickered in Minji's expression. Not anger. Not hurt. Something else. Something that made Marcus uncomfortable for just a second. But then it was gone. Minji picked up her small purse, her movements careful and controlled. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, Marcus repeated, surprised. He'd expected tears, begging a scene. If that's what you want, Minji said. Then okay. She bowed slightly, a Korean gesture of respect that suddenly felt wrong in this moment. Then she walked out of the restaurant alone, her small figure disappearing through the doors. The guests erupted in whispers. Simone squeezed Marcus's arm. That went better than expected, she murmured. Marcus tried to feel victorious. Relieved. Free. Instead, he felt like he'd just made a terrible mistake. But he shook it off. This was the right choice. Simone was the right choice. He had no idea that the quiet woman who just walked out was about to change his life forever. And not in the way he expected. Before we continue, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and hit subscribe. You won't believe what happens next. Back to the story. Outside, Minji stood under a streetlight, breathing slowly. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady. Calm. Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Father, my men saw what happened. Come home. Minji closed her eyes. She'd tried so hard to keep these two worlds separate. For 5 years, she'd lived as just Minji Park, translator, normal wife, invisible woman. Not Minji Kang. Not the only daughter of Kang Jae-sung. Not the princess of one of Korea's most powerful and feared crime families. A black car pulled up to the curb. The driver got out and opened the door without a word. Minji got in. As the car drove through Seoul's streets, she watched the city lights blur past. She'd wanted so badly to be normal. To be loved for herself, not for her name or her father's power. So she'd hidden everything. Changed her last name, taken a regular job, lived in a regular apartment. And she'd fallen in love with Marcus Chin, an ambitious American businessman who saw her as safe. Uncomplicated. Easy. He'd never asked many questions about her family. She'd said her parents were dead. He believed her because it was convenient. The car left the city, heading into the mountains. The roads got darker, narrower. Finally, they turned through gates that opened automatically. The estate was massive. Traditional Korean architecture mixed with modern security. Gardens that looked peaceful but hid cameras and armed men. This was her real home. Her father waited in his study. Kang Jae-sung was in his 60s, silver hair, sharp eyes, and a presence that made grown men nervous. But when Minji walked in, his face softened. "My daughter," he said gently. Minji finally let herself cry. He held her while she broke down, something she couldn't do in that restaurant, couldn't do in front of Marcus, couldn't do anywhere in the life she'd been pretending to live. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. I tried so hard to make it work." "You have nothing to apologize for," her father said firmly. "He humiliated you in public. Disrespected my family. That cannot stand." Minji pulled back. "Please don't hurt him. I loved him. Maybe I still do. I don't know." Her father's expression was unreadable. "I won't hurt him. But I will teach him the consequences of his choices." "What does that mean?" He turned to his computer and pulled up files. Documents. Property records. Business licenses. "Marcus Chin thinks he built his empire alone," her father said. "But every door that opened for him, every permit that was approved, every loan that came through, every deal that closed when it shouldn't have, that was me." Minji's breath caught. "What?" "You wanted him to succeed. You wanted him to be happy. So I made sure he was." Her father's voice was calm. "The luxury apartment building he developed? I facilitated the land acquisition. The investors who backed him? My associates. The construction permits that usually take years? I expedited them." "He thinks he did all that himself," Minji whispered. "Yes. But without my support, his empire is built on nothing." Minji sat down heavily. "And now?" Her father's smile was cold. "Now I take it all back. Not as revenge. As correction. He needs to understand what he threw away." "What about Simone?" At this, her father's expression darkened. "The woman he's marrying? We've been watching her too." He pulled up another file. Photos, background checks, phone records. "Simone Laurent," he read. "Former girlfriend from university. Returned to Seoul 6 months ago. Here's what your husband doesn't know. She didn't come back for business." He turned the screen toward Minji. "Emails, private investigator reports, all with Simone's name on them. She hired investigators to find information about you 3 months ago," her father explained. "She discovered your real identity. Discovered who I am. And she decided to use it." Minji felt ice in her veins. "Use it how?" "She thought if she could replace you, she could marry into my family. Gain access to my wealth, my power, my connections. She deliberately seduced Marcus back, thinking she was clever." "She knows who you are?" "She knows. But she doesn't understand. She thinks this is about money and status." Her father's voice went quiet and dangerous. "She doesn't understand that disrespecting my daughter means disrespecting my family. And in my world, that has consequences." Minji stared at the evidence. All this time, she'd thought it was about love. But Simone had been scheming, calculating, using Marcus to get to something bigger. "What are you going to do?" Minji asked. Her father closed the laptop. "What needs to be done?" Marcus made a choice based on ignorance and ego. But Simone? She made a choice based on greed and disrespect. They'll both learn. "I don't want anyone hurt. No one will be hurt physically," her father promised. "But they will feel pain. They will understand loss. And they will know too late what they destroyed. He put his hand on her shoulder. Go rest, daughter. Tomorrow, their education begins. Minji went to her old room. It was exactly as she'd left it years ago. Comfortable, safe, surrounded by family. But as she lay in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about Marcus. About the man she'd loved. The man who'd just thrown her away like she was nothing. Tomorrow, he'd start learning the truth. And once he did, there would be no going back. Marcus woke up in Simone's luxury apartment feeling like he'd won the lottery. Silk sheets, city views, a woman who knew how to dress and how to impress. This was the life he deserved. His phone buzzed. Email notification. He opened it casually. Subject: property seizure notice. His blood went cold. He read it once. Twice. 3 times. The luxury apartment building, his flagship development, was being seized for unpaid fees and violation of permits. That's impossible, he muttered. He'd paid everything. Had all the permits. Another email came through. Then another. Bank notices. Investor withdrawals. Permit revocations. What the hell? Marcus jumped out of bed and started making calls. His lawyer didn't answer. His accountant didn't answer. His business partner finally picked up. Marcus, man, I don't know what's happening, Dave said, panicked. Everything's falling apart. The investors pulled out overnight. The banks are freezing accounts. It's like someone flipped a switch. That doesn't make sense. Who is that kind of power? I don't know, but whoever they are, they're connected. Real connected. Korean connected. Marcus's hands started shaking. What do you mean? I mean the kind of people you don't mess with. The kind who can make businesses disappear. Marcus, what did you do? I didn't do anything. Marcus shouted. But even as he said it, doubt crept in. The timing. The sudden, coordinated collapse. This wasn't random. This was personal. Simone walked out in a silk robe. What's all the yelling? Marcus showed her his phone. Everything's falling apart. The business, the properties, the accounts. Everything. Her face went pale. Already? What do you mean already? Marcus stared at her. You know something. Simone's confident mask slipped for just a second. No, I just meant. Simone, what did you do? She recovered quickly. Nothing. This isn't about me. This is probably just business. You'll fix it. But Marcus saw something in her eyes. Fear. Guilt. Something. His phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. A man's voice, older, Korean accent, spoke calmly. Marcus Chin. You don't know me, but I know everything about you. Who is this? Someone you should have respected. You humiliated my daughter last night. In public. In front of everyone. Marcus's mouth went dry. Your daughter. Minji. My daughter. The woman you threw away like garbage. The pieces started clicking together in Marcus's mind. Wait, Minji's father? She said her parents were dead. She lied. To protect you. To give you a chance at real love without fear or obligation. The man's voice hardened. You failed that test. Look, I don't know who you are, but... Kang Jae-sung. Perhaps you've heard of me. Marcus nearly dropped the phone. Everyone in Seoul knew that name. The Korean underworld. Power, fear, connections that ran through every level of government and business. You're lying, Marcus whispered. Am I? Look at what's happening to your life. That's just the beginning. Every permit I facilitated, every door I opened, every person who helped you, that was for my daughter. Because she loved you. Because she wanted you to succeed. Marcus felt his legs give out. He sat down hard. Now watch as I take it all back, Kang continued. Not because I'm cruel, but because you need to understand what real power looks like. And what it means to disrespect my family. Please, I didn't know. That's your first problem. You never asked. You never cared to know who she really was. You saw what you wanted to see. A quiet, convenient wife who wouldn't challenge you. The line went dead. Marcus sat in stunned silence. Simone was talking, asking questions, but he couldn't hear her. His mind was racing. Minji. Quiet, plain Minji. Was the daughter of a Mafia boss. And he'd just publicly humiliated her. Oh God, he whispered. What have I done? If you're hooked, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens to Simone. Trust me, she gets what's coming. Now back to the story. Over the next week, Marcus's life disintegrated like paper in rain. His business partners abandoned him. Investors sued for breach of contract. Properties were seized. Bank accounts frozen. Permits revoked. Within days, the empire he thought he built was gone. But it was Simone's reaction that shocked him most. She started getting scared. Really scared. It started with small things. Her car's brakes failed on the highway. She barely survived. The police said it was sabotage but couldn't find who did it. Then someone broke into her apartment. Nothing was stolen. But a photo of her was left on her pillow. Her face crossed out in red. She started seeing the same men everywhere. Following her. Watching her. Never threatening. Just there. This is insane. Simone screamed at Marcus. Make it stop. I don't know how. Marcus shot back. I don't even understand what's happening. That was a lie. He understood perfectly. Kang Jae-sung was teaching them both a lesson. And Simone was learning hers faster than he was. One night, Marcus came back to Simone's apartment to find her packing. What are you doing? I'm leaving, she said, throwing clothes into a suitcase. I'm going back to the States. Tonight. You can't just leave. We're getting married. Are you insane? She whirled on him. Do you know who you pissed off? Do you have any idea what Kang Jae-sung does to people who disrespect him? Marcus frowned. How do you know his name? Simone froze. Just for a second. Then she kept packing. Simone, Marcus said slowly. How do you know who he is? Everyone in Seoul knows who he is. No. You knew before. You said already when my business collapsed. Like you expected it. Marcus grabbed her arm. What did you do? She jerked away. Let go of me. Tell me the truth. Fine. Simone shouted. You want the truth? I knew who Minji was. I hired investigators months ago. I found out everything. Her real name. Her father. The whole thing. Marcus felt like he'd been punched. You knew? Yes. And I thought I could use it. I thought if I got rid of her, I could take her place. Marry you, get access to that family, that money, that power. She laughed bitterly. But I was stupid. I didn't understand what I was dealing with. You manipulated me, Marcus whispered. Oh please. You wanted to be manipulated. I just gave you an excuse to do what you already wanted. She zipped her suitcase. And now we're both screwed. Except I'm smart enough to run. You can't run from someone like him. Watch me. Simone grabbed her bags and headed for the door. She stopped and looked back. You know what's funny? Minji actually loved you. For real. No agenda, no scheme. And you threw her away for a woman who was using you from day one. She left. The door slammed. Marcus stood alone in the empty apartment, Simone's words echoing in his head. Minji loved him. Really loved him. And he destroyed it for greed, ego, and a lie. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Come to this address. Tomorrow. Midnight. Come alone. An address in the industrial district. The kind of place where bad things happened. Marcus knew he had no choice. Running would make it worse. Ignoring it would make it worse. He had to face what he'd done. The warehouse was dark when Marcus arrived. His hands shook as he pushed open the heavy door. Inside, a single light hung from the ceiling. Under it stood a chair. And around the edges of the darkness, men waited. He couldn't see them clearly, but he felt them. Armed. Dangerous. Watching. Sit, a voice commanded from the shadows. Marcus sat. His heart hammered in his chest. Kang Jae-sung stepped into the light. He was exactly as Marcus imagined. Older, distinguished, calm. But his eyes were cold as winter. Do you know why you're here? Kang asked. Because I hurt your daughter, Marcus said quietly. Yes. But more than that. You humiliated her in front of everyone. You treated her like she was nothing. You chose a woman who was using you over the woman who loved you. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry. Kang repeated the word like it tasted bad. Do you know what sorry means in my world? It means nothing. Actions matter. Consequences matter. Marcus nodded, unable to speak. I could kill you, Kang said casually. Make you disappear. No one would question it. No one would look too hard. Please. Kang raised a hand. I won't. Because my daughter asked me not to. Even after everything you did, she still has compassion for you. That's the kind of woman she is. The kind you didn't deserve. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. But I will give you a choice, Kang continued. You can stay in Korea and face every consequence. Every debt, every lawsuit, every associate of mine who remembers what you did. You'll spend years in poverty and fear. He paused. Or you can leave. Tonight. Go back to America. Start over. Never contact my daughter again. Never speak her name. Disappear. That's it? Marcus asked. Just leave. Just leave, Kang confirmed. With nothing. No money, no contacts, no reputation. You'll build whatever life you can from zero. And you'll live knowing what you threw away. Marcus thought about Minji. About trying to apologize, to explain, to make things right. But he looked at the men in the shadows. At Kang's cold eyes. And he understood. There was no making this right. The damage was done. I'll leave, Marcus whispered. Kang nodded. There's a ticket waiting for you at the airport. You have 4 hours. If you're still in Korea after that, my protection ends. Marcus stood on shaking legs. Can I just ask, is she okay? Kang's expression softened just slightly. She will be. She's strong. Stronger than you ever realized. She'll heal, and she'll find someone who sees her worth. I saw her worth, Marcus said. I just saw it too late. That, Kang said, is your burden to carry. Marcus walked out of the warehouse. Outside, a car waited to take him to the airport. As Seoul's lights faded behind him, he thought about everything he'd lost. Not the business. Not the money. Not even Simone. But Minji. The real her. The woman who'd loved him enough to hide her entire world just to give him a chance at genuine love. And he'd chosen a lie instead. 6 months later, Minji sat in a cafe in Seoul, reading a book. She looked different now. More confident. Her clothes were nicer, but not flashy. She'd stopped hiding who she was. Her father's men were nearby, as always. Discreet, but present. A man approached her table. Young, Korean, kind eyes. Excuse me, he said politely. Is this seat taken? Minji looked up and smiled. A real smile. No. Please. He sat down, and they started talking. About books, about Seoul, about life. He didn't recognize her name. Didn't know who her father was. But he would. Eventually. And when he did, she'd know if he could handle the truth. For now, though, she just enjoyed being seen. Really seen. Across the world, Marcus worked a regular job in Atlanta. Nothing special. Nothing glamorous. He'd started completely over. Sometimes he thought about reaching out. Apologizing. Explaining. But he never did. Because Kang had been right. Some consequences you just had to carry. Simone had disappeared entirely. Rumors said she left Asia altogether, changed her name, went underground. Maybe she was smarter than Marcus gave her credit for. Or maybe she was just more afraid. In his small apartment, Marcus kept one photo hidden in a drawer. From their wedding day. Minji smiling at the camera, him smiling at her. She'd looked happy. He'd looked successful. Neither of them had been what they seemed. But only one of them had been real. And he'd thrown her away. That was the lesson Kang Jae-sung had taught him. Not through violence. Not through revenge. But through consequences. Through showing Marcus exactly what he'd lost. And letting him live with it forever. If this story got to you, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe so you never miss stories like this. And drop a comment telling me, would you have made Marcus's choice? Or would you have stayed loyal? Your answer matters. See you in the next one.